Hubler is proud to be the official sponsor of Franklin Athletics. Score massive savings on all your favorite brands. Plus, get our 10-year, 200,000-mile warranty included. For all auto needs, just click drivehubler.com. Let's go, Grizzly Cubs!
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us on this week's Hubler Automotive Group Coach's Corner. I'm your host, Thomas Crow, and with me today is my co-host, Mr. Brian Powers.
How's it going? Thank you for letting me join again this week. With us today, we have normally we have Chris Call, head football coach of your Grizzly Cubs, but today we have his understudy, I guess, if you will. We have defensive coordinator and my brother from another mother, Mr. Matt Taylor. Matt, how are you doing?
Thank you for having me on.
Good.
I'm doing fine.
Yeah. So you've come off the past couple weeks where you just saw just a tough couple of weeks as far as your defense looking tough and playing really well. How did you see them improve from the first week to the second and third weeks?
Well, there wasn't any room for ability to go backwards, kind of deal. We looked out on the field in that first game against Danville, and we had one guy that was playing last year at the varsity level on defense. So we knew every week they were going to get better at what their job was supposed to be, and they're kind of starting to have a chemistry about it themselves and trying to figure it out a little bit. They're doing well together. It's a team game, and they're doing a good job being good teammates and learning how to play football.
Yeah, so coming off the Danville game, you have Shelbyville one week and Perry the next week. Your team has the point differential in those two games has been 98 points Franklin, 6 to the other two teams, and your defense has only allowed 120 yards per game. How has your team just not only been able to just play well as a team, like you said, but just dominate on that side of the ball?
Well, we put a lot of emphasis on our action to the ball and our fundamentals and where our eyes are supposed to be, and our coaching staff that just does a really good job of making sure those guys are prepared for the things they're going to see during the game week. We try not to do a lot of things that are kind of gimmicky drills and things like that. We try to make everything relevant to what they're going to see, and like I said, these kids care. I think they got a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. We got a whole bunch of seniors on the field that realistically weren't varsity defensive starters last year. We got a handful that played a little bit, and we got 2 guys that were full-time guys. So you got a whole bunch of guys that have a common goal and something to prove, and that's really the biggest part. They care.
So past is behind us. Now we're looking ahead. This week we got the Boot, we got Whiteland. What are we looking at?
Same old Whiteland. They're going to be tough to defend. They got some large humans on the front line, and they've got some talented skill players. They run a scheme in which you have to be really sound. Every guy's got to do his job on any given play, and they're willing to grind it out in hopes of breaking a big one when you don't expect it, or when a guy misses his job assignment. So
are you do you look at what they did last year as far as game footage goes? Do you look at that at all, or how do you prepare for them?
Well, we've looked at some of the stuff that we did obviously with them last year, and trying to come up with things that they would counter off of. I think we played them early enough in the season where other teams were kind of maybe picked up on a clue or a hint here or there on things we were doing, because we were relatively successful last year. But realistically, each defense that they see is a little bit different, so it doesn't really do us any good to evaluate everybody we see. We look at other teams that will play them similar to us. That's the biggest thing is they're very sound in what they do, and they have a lot of rules for their offense, and they block things certain ways that we have to kind of be prepared for and kind of go from there.
So with our defense, even though it's been a very small serving size, something that I've been very impressed with has been the ability to, stay home, if you will, on some of our linebackers, and some of our defensive ends. going into Whiteland week, that's always a very preached upon thing for the defense. How do you think your team's going to be able to just do their best to not only stay home, but make sure they do their assignments correctly?
It's just what we preach every day. If you ask any of those guys across our varsity lineup on a regular basis, they're hearing alignment, assignment, and pursuit. I mean, it's a constant theme in our practices. It's a constant theme in their drills and any kind of competition periods. They got to line up right. They got to communicate and do things together, whether it's right or wrong. They got to be on the same page. They got to do the job to the best of their ability and strive for perfection, knowing you'll never reach it, and then get to the ball. And I think we've done a really good job on that last one lately, is getting to the ball. We got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys on the screen during the play in piles, so that's good.
So you were at Tri-West with Coach Call.
Yeah.
And now you're at Franklin with Coach Call. What are some of the differences in the programs from there to here, and some of the similarities that you see?
Well, Tri-West is just a little bit smaller, but anybody around the state that's followed knows that it's a good football community. I really miss those folks there. Our other coaches from our staff, and they're like family to us, and other folks we worked with out at Tri-West. But the biggest difference is really just the number of people we have will generally be a little bit higher as far as the kids go and the amount of players that are in the program. And there until the last couple of years, we were still going guys both ways. So you only train them 1.5 days a week instead of 4 days a week because they got to split time with offense and defense. And when we made that run in 2014, it was because we committed to guys going one side of the ball and getting 4 days of practice every week and being really good at what they do and not having to worry about, being a player on offense and a B player on defense. Right. But then when they're playing both sides of the ball, now they're a B player on offense and a B minus player on defense because they're having to play so many plays. So that's the biggest difference. I think the programs that we've both been a part of have always tried to strive for assignment-based offense and defenses, and both places have a lot of really good coaches, and that's the main part of the success. You got to have coaches that know what they're doing and can project that on young men and women, and when they are successful with that communication and relationships, those folks usually follow their lead. So.
All right, well, Coach, you got any more final words before you head into the game this week against Whiteland?
Go Grizzly Cubs.
Well, for Coach, we appreciate Coach Taylor stopping by, giving us some of his time. We know you're a busy guy. So for Coach Taylor, for my co-host, Mr. Brian Powers, I'm Thomas Crow, and this has been your Hubler Automotive Group Coach's Corner.